Hello, I'm Dr. Ron England, and today's topic is an advanced topic. We're going to go over event bubbling in user controls. First, I'll show you what that actually, just an example of what the event bubbling looks like. I've created this small user control here, which consists of a panel with two panels inside of it. And then inside of those two panels, I have this edit HTML and edit text. And these are link buttons. And if I click the edit HTML, I'm going to have a label down here that changes. And if I hit edit text, I'm going to have another label that changes. And you think, well, wow, that's not very difficult. Except for the fact that this is a user control that I've created that's embedded inside of a page, and these events are actually being bubbled to the page level, which is called event bubbling. So let's look and see how this is done, and then in another video I'll show you a practical application of the event bubbling. So first let's look at the user control itself, and I call this control an edit panel. And the control is a very straightforward control here. Going to the design mode, I have a panel, within it two panels. One of the panels is a header, one is a body within the panel. It's actually easier to see in this form. So here's an outside panel. Here's the inside panel. Okay, inside the inside panel I actually have a label. In the large content, what's called the content panel, I have the two link buttons. Link button edit HTML, link button edit text, and then I actually have a literal for content, and I'll show you how this is used. And then I even threw in an Ajax control here to round the corners off of the panels to make it look nice. Okay. Now, what I want to have happen is when I click on these two link buttons, I want to have the event that is triggered bubble up to the control container, which in this case is the page. So I'll show you how to do that. Most of this is done in the code that you have behind here. So if I look inside of my partial class of edit, you see edit panel, which is the name of my control, I have two delegates. Okay, and a delegate is essentially I'm delegating the handling of the event to a delegate, and this delegate is called HTML button click handler and text button click handler. And if you notice, they take the same arguments that you see whenever you have any type of event. You have an object sender, an event args e. I also then have to actually create an event. Okay, so the event is of the type that the actual delegate is of, HTML button click handler. So I have an event of type delegate type HTML button click handler called HTML button click. So that's the event itself. And then I have another event called text button click, which is of the type of the delegate. So what I've done is I've defined a way to handle the event, okay, and I define the events themselves. Now, the next two pieces of code that I have here are simply properties, and this is one of the tricks I like to use all the time. Inside of my user control, I have a literal, which is a way of displaying literal text, and I've defined the property of the text inside of that literal to be the text. So if you do user control.text, you're actually going to get the text inside the literal, and the same thing with the set property. And the header property, which is the header right here, so I actually have text that's down here, and I have the header here. Okay, I use the label that I had defined as the header itself. Okay, now I have, and I'll go to the ASCX here, I actually do handle the on-click of the first link button in the user control code and the second on-click event inside the user control. But what I do when I get that is I simply I bubble the event up. So if HTML button click, which is an event, right here, HTML button click, if it's not null, I'm going to go ahead and call HTML button click this E. Okay, E is the event args that's sent over from this, and this is the actual user control. It's the class of the UC edit panel. In capturing the event of the edit button, the link button edit, okay, I do the same thing. If the text button click, remember text button is an event. Okay, if the text button event is send up, is not null, so that event actually occurred, I'm going to call text button click this and E. Okay, so those are going to get called. Now, here, and now actually I'm going to come back over to the code. As you can see, that's moving that up outside of this block, which is the user control, to the page. This is a label that's on the page. So let's look at the page. Now I've created this test page, which has two things on it. It has an edit panel, which is the user control I just created. And notice I set the header to user control header, which is right here. If I changed it to something else, it would change the text over there. And then I have the label. But there's a few things I have to do in test form. One thing that I have to do is I actually have to tell the event handler in the page load of the page, I have to actually basically register the event. So when on the page I have UC Edit Panel 1, that's an instantiation, it's an instantiated object of a UC Edit panel that's on the page. Okay, this HTML button click is the event right there. And I'm adding to it, now here's a class method of HTML button click handler, and I'm registering the function or the method that will get called when the event actually occurs. And I'm adding it to the list of event handlers. Okay, so it's getting added here. Now, I have to have those functions, so here where I have HTML button on click, okay, when I actually click the button and the bubble comes up, okay, I tell the label to go ahead and say the HTML button is clicked. When I trigger the event, the text button click, okay, I want it to bubble to this spot here on the page where the text button gets clicked and the label shows that the text button got clicked. So in summary, what I've done here is I've created some events in my user control, and I've bubbled the event handling from the level of the user control up to the level of the form that they were in, which is test form, and I registered that these events need to be handled at the page level, not at the level of the user control, by adding this code to the page load. Okay. One last piece here, just realize this is the class, this is the delegate, this is the event. For this other panel, for the text button, the event, the class, the delegate, and then these are the functions on the page, or the methods that are on the page that will get called to handle those events. Thank you very much. That's another quick example of what it does. Simple here. And in future videos, I'll show you why this is extremely useful. Thanks.